Hello, everybody. It's your buddy Isaac, and I'm glad to see all of you today. So, I'm probably going to be doing two videos today. I've got another Let's Play for Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water, and I'm going to be doing this video. Now, if you have been living under a rock, and I highly doubt that you have, it is now past the 2024 election. Whether you love or hate Trump, it's up to you, but he has won the presidential elect seat. Now, something that I have been more interested in keeping my ear down is apparently the news that potentially the censorship and shadow banning that has been a practice of a lot of platforms in the last decade may soon be coming to an end. In part to numerous different issues. One being the fact that this very same cartel has been sued by Elon Musk for attempting to go after X, as well as many other coalescing issues going on. One of them is the president-elect's own promise to essentially modify Section 230 to ensure that platforms must maintain a high level of neutrality in order to actually maintain their protections under Section 230. If you need a refresher course on Section 230, it's a pretty simple legal statement. Basically, so long as YouTube, Twitter, now X, Twitch, and other platforms do not act in a editorial or publishing manner, they are not legally responsible for copyrighted content placed on their platform. It means that basically YouTube can't be sued if a user posts part of a movie or a show or part of a video game, what have you. It means that these companies, whenever a copyrighted source winds up on their platform, cannot be taken account for it. In fact, the companies have to then go toward the person who is the publisher, i.e., the person uploading it. While YouTube does try to quote unquote provide a link between both parties, that's genuinely what Section 230 is. Now, a lot of platforms have been showing a heavy bias toward one political aisle or another, but I would also tend to argue that it's not just politics. In fact, many channels that have nothing to do with politics, including channels like Clownfish TV and others, are also finding themselves under fire. This channel as well has come under fire, essentially, where my channel almost doesn't exist in the algorithm. With the exception of shorts of MoonPie, who is at my feet right now. He'll probably hop up here when I go to record video games. My long form content almost never gets any real views. It's like the algorithm purposely is trying to push it down to make sure that it's never seen. That's despite the fact that I've played very popular game franchises. Five Nights at Freddy's, I've played Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I think may actually be one of the reasons why this channel probably got shadow banned. Because back when me and my friend Lich played that game, we were not too shy to criticize that thing. You see, one of the things that I can definitely note is that YouTube and platforms like it seem to have a habit of shadow banning or throttling channels that are critical of advertiser products. For example, if you're critical toward a video game franchise or toward a movie, you're probably going to see your channel starting to get throttled. This is actually being seen very common among critical channels and review channels on YouTube, where reviewers are literally seeing that their channels are dying off or starting to get throttled, primarily because they're not kissing the rear ends of the corporations in general. This is why I find if Trump does pull off what he's claiming he wants to do, if he does actually hold true to that promise, I would be absolutely elated. I think that is going to be one of the biggest saviors for a lot of content creators just in general. No longer having a censorship cartel that can basically sit there and prevent your growth as a channel. Well, hi, cat. Told you he'd be up. Hi, kitty, kitty, come here. Meow, you're so fluffy. But not having a channel that basically that is getting throttled by YouTube because, oh no, the advertisers don't like you because of whatever reason. Hell, it could just simply be that your channel's getting throttled because somebody who runs the platform doesn't like you. All in all, bad choice in business, by the way. That's why, even if it is about politics, I'll be honest, like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen when it comes to any company. Politics and business don't mix well, especially not in America. Because American politics change all the time. There's no guarantee that the party that you're trying to smooch up to is going to maintain power at all. So when the other party gets in power, there's a good chance that you might get hurt pretty bad, depending on just how nasty you were about it in the last election cycle. Which should be a reminder to the CEO of Google, considering that he just was convicted not long ago of being a monopoly by the DOJ and was hoping to fight that conviction. His chances probably just went down the toilet. It's kind of hard to not to convince the government that you're not a monopoly out to control search results, among other things, and then have somebody who's you have done a lot of that kind of thing to get elected to president. I guarantee you what's going to happen is we're going to most likely see a lot of that actually happening, where if this is actual truth, and I will say if, because there's no, that's actually one of the things that I would say when it comes to quote unquote white collar crime, which is stuff that's primarily done by rich people, like embezzlement and this kind of shadow banning stuff, is unless you got the actual paperwork to back it up, is really, really, really hard to prove. But in this case, let's say that they do get the evidence, which apparently Trump is going to be sicking his attorney general against all federal agents that are colluding with social media companies to censor or throttle or shadow ban people to prevent them from sharing their general ideas, their legal speech. And by the way, free legal speech, however, I will note, does not include things such as direct violence. It does not include direct threats. It does not include encouraging violence against somebody or inciting violence or doing things like fighting words where you're literally challenging people to fight you. That's actually not covered under free speech. And that, by the way, is literally in the codification of the First Amendment. That things like fighting words, inciting violence, or threatening someone directly is not covered under free speech. But you can criticize people all day long. You can say that I think Trump is a stinky poo-poo head all day, every day, all you like. You just can't directly threaten him or his family or his friends or people who follow him, that kind of thing. But we are definitely seeing an attack on our freedom of speech. And that's just a political example. We as Americans should have the freedom to criticize companies and products that we consume. There should not be a case where a company can literally talk to social media and say, well, this person is saying critical things about our game or critical things about our movie. We want you to censor them, or we're going to withdraw money from you so that you have a harder time, or we're going to take away our ad revenue, which is probably what a lot of these companies have done. A lot of these businesses have probably done exactly that, which is funny because when they tried to do it to Elon Musk, he basically gave them the loaded double barrel, double bird, basically. So, which, yes, that's more than appropriate, I would think. Realistically, as a person who has been raised in business, I would definitely say that you should want as little external influence on how you run your company as possible. And I would actually say that yes, if you are a business and advertisers are trying to blackmail you, if you can legally take them to court for doing that, do it. Which is exactly what Musk did. These guys were trying to blackmail him and blackmail X to do what they wanted. They even used propaganda tools such as media to try and sit there and say, oh, X is having all these horrible things said on it. It turns out, by the way, according to the actual statistics released by Musk, who has been very transparent on X and how it's run, that that's far from true. And also should be noted that these same advertisers are now crawling back to X after the last election. Oh, gee, it's almost as if it's now one of the largest growing social media platforms out there. Oops. Yeah, by the way, that's actually not the first time that's happened either. During the first run of the original Batman with Adam West, believe it or not, there was these nosy busybody Catholic group that almost tried to get Robin chemically castrated because the spandex was a little was around the groin area. Yeah, apparently Robin was a bit pecking. So this group basically tried to put pressure onto the studios to say, hey, either you got to do something about this, or we're going to write letters and try and make it so you're removed from prime time. At the end of the day, the actual studios and the networks finally said, hey, look, this is our biggest show. We're not going to shove it anywhere near at a prime time, and you can take and shove it. That's generally the best reaction I can say historically. Is the best thing to do with these kind of moralizers is to basically just give them the double bird and move on. Usually pays off in the end. But I think quite literally yes. If this Section 230 reform does get pushed through, if it does happen, a lot of platforms, including YouTube, are going to have to switch a lot of their business practice. I can foresee content creators becoming more and more prevalent and more important to YouTube. I can also see a lot less throttling and shadow banning happening. Because if it becomes actual law that YouTube can no longer push this kind of censorship or push this kind of nonsense that they've been doing, because that's what they've been telling us for years is, well, we're only doing all the censorship because the advertisers are saying, well, it's not advertisement friendly, so if you don't remove this kind of stuff from your website, we're not going to pay you. Well, if you actually made it illegal for them to do that, for them to censor that critical speech or critical thinking and all that, well, now those advertisers are screwed. They can't blackmail them because at that point it's literally breaking the law. Which, if anything, actually again, YouTube, if these companies try to sit there and force them to break the law at that point, they can literally sue those companies. They can literally take them to court and expose them for that, which won't end well for the advertisers at all. I can definitely foresee a new free YouTube again. I can definitely see YouTubers being freed once more to make content as they see fit without having to worry about the heavy-handed sledgehammer that has been demonetization of late, and especially in the last 8 years. I think that'll be nice. I think a lot of content creators will enjoy that very much so. Will it be enough to save YouTube per se, considering that people are already getting very, very sick and tired of this platform and are moving to other platforms like Rumble and X? I can't say. I would have to say that it's something that's more or less going to be told by time. But this is pretty much just my general thoughts on it. I don't know. I'm not a political expert. I'm sure a lot of the times when politicians say they're going to do something, they don't actually do it. But I can also say that even if Trump doesn't do it, I would say that it's probably in YouTube's best interest to pull something like what Musk did anyway. Genuinely speaking, it's better to just not censor people if you can help it. I mean, take a look at what's going on to Twitch right now, the adpocalypse that's happening over there because of the favoritism toward very heavily anti-Semitic streamers, among other things. They're having a whole boatload of problems. If anything, Twitch is definitely going to end up starting to be a canary, especially for a lot of other platforms similar to it, to say, hey, look, you can't be playing this favoritism game. You can't be doing this stuff, or else you're going to be facing some serious consequences, which I think is going to be very, very important for a lot of people to learn very quickly. But thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you next time. Stay safe, my friends.